Welcome to the day. The day is and is the day, and it is the day after yesterday, or the day is the day before tomorrow. I'm just jumping on here for a quick note to mention something. Listen to this. One man creates the boat. A million men buy the boat. But only out of a million men that buy the boats, okay, only 100,000 men can actually afford to pay for the boat now. So our reality of creation is not only taking us forward, but it's putting us one step back. Because when you have to eliminate the time of thought from the conscious spirit world, because you have to go out and make more money to play for man's toys, okay, you gain and you lose. You win in spirit, in spirit, you lose. You gain in soul, you lose in spirit. When you lose in spirit, you lose the reality of the true sense of what soul is. You need the spirit to balance out the two sides of soul to decide whether or not what you're doing is correct or not. If God decided to take away spirit from this world, it would all fall to dust. Everything would crumble. The spirit is the water, W-A-T-E-R. Number count, 67, 6 and 7 is the same as saying 4 and 3 or 1 and 6, which is actually the connector. It means if you take one of these dice cubes, okay, there is no 9 or anything, but I can create it by putting a dice up here, a dice down here, and one in the center to play the game. Or one in the center to play the game, put a dice out here and a dice out here. But if I need to connect, I got to go to that corner or down to that corner, out to that corner, in between the two sides, of course. Most corners are between two sides. I reckon. Could be right. Could be wrong. But you decide on your own. So what I see is we're building all these boats and these companies. It's actually really, eventually in time, it's always going to go down to one company because everybody's buying everybody out. That's what happens in Monopoly. So you buy everybody out. And then there's really one company, just like when you go for a can of peas and it says compliments on it, it's actually probably made by Libby's. So eventually they'll decide what's in the food, what we get in the food, and everything's going to change. Because at the same time, we have to get home to watch that program on TV that we didn't watch that has absolutely nothing to do with anything. Some series, some movies are good for reflection. Too much TV, you have to understand. Okay, you cannot watch too much TV. You take your time, instead of in putting the TV, your consciousness again into this world of thought. Because like I said, they take out spirit, your mind is gone, you cannot think anymore. The money has no more value. When you reach the age of 95 years old, my friend, your money ain't going to do too much. You play with your money, you play with your money. Let me play with my dollars. Man's doll is his money. D-O-L-L, 24, 39, 43. 3 and 4 connect to be a 7. Money is 72, which is a 9. 7 and 9 is 16. 1 and 6 is the answer to one spirit. Money is a spirit. Okay? It's a good and it's an evil spirit at the same time. Where does it actually hang out? Money hangs out between plus and minus. One of the reasons that is because you have more, you have less, and then money don't count. So it's minus. You don't need any of it. You don't need any of it. I don't need any of it for me to come on and actually talk into this camera over here. Anyways, let me get back to all this creation. So now these companies make all this money and they play with it. What do they do with it? They invest it. They take it out. They're always trying to save. And then when a problem happens, well, who comes in between? The judge. So the judge collects from the right and judge collects from the left. Information from both, of course. Man has to just pay the lawyer, or does he? We all pay that judge in the front. Okay, we all pay that judge. But simple as the one spirit, we have to pay our own lawyers. There ends up to be 2 lawyers in court with one judge deciding which lawyer talked better than the other. You see, when it comes to court, it's all about the mind. But after that, it's all about the money. When you get to court, it's all about the mind. And they put in so many laws, they break down your mind until everything you start to think has actually no reflection on anything at all except for what they think, and that's about it. Play with the money until the real dolls of this world fall. We will become autonome. The same thing in French for autumn and fall. When we fall, we become autonome. The same thing as fall when the leaves fall. We fall the same way. We become alone. Money is very disturbing. If we take away all these boats that we actually don't need because we're always running, don't we sit home sometimes with the older people and start to talk about things from the past, and we sort of have a little fun, and you listen to a little music, or you get a piece of paper out and you decide to create yourself, create within your own world that doesn't take or destroy from anybody else's, that doesn't cause an extra expense or extra thought? Because every time one man creates, 100 men go broke. It's the way it is, because everybody spends. So if you think creation is that great, it's not that great unless we know how to spend our money after. You see, during creation, we spend our time. Man buys creation, spends his money. So the reflection and value between time and money is way off, is actually way off. Imagine if we didn't take a truck on the road, and I didn't take my car on the road, and I had enough land to plant a garden for myself. How much would it actually cost me a year to eat? Grow my own cow, right out of the ground. How do I do that? I eat the right stuff. Don't forget, I'm going to be switching subjects here. The cow has 4 tits, right? The limousine cow is what they call them. She delivers. Why is it a limousine cow? Because if you look at the limousine car, it shows you 4 empty blocks. 1, 3, 7, and 9. The crosses on it are 2, 4, 6, and 8. And that's the Lincoln that delivers. She chews 2 cuds because she talks for 2 worlds. She has 4 tits because there's a tit in each corner. Sorry to express it that way, but it's just an expression of work. Okay? And then she has the 2 on the side. She has to chew this cud and this cud over here to get the 4 milkers to work. That's why you can't drink milk and have meat at the same time, because you can't do the same operations apparently in your body, because God couldn't do it the other way either. That's why he made the cow, 1 for meat, 1 for milk. Otherwise he'd put the milk in the cow. They call it veal. 22 and 5 is V, means life, and take away, split the letter to all. V is all, means life is all, and it says to leave, because if you flip the word veal backwards, it says leave, or leaven bread, to rise. So man rises to the occasion, then he destroys as he creates, but that's okay. Did you ever see a comma like that? You see, I went out and I bubbled out. When I bubbled out this way, this side was going in. So now there's more space in, and now the space is out. 1 space is in, 1 space is out. The one thing I'm going to show you about the comma is it's 9, 0, 90 in between the commas. What's after this 0? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What's backwards? 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. And now the game begins. 5 up to here and 5 up to here. We have 11, 11. The one in the center no longer counts. Just like the 10 card, where the dot in the center disappears, you have 5 on the top and 5 on the bottom. It's the same effect if you put the dot in the center. They each get the dot. They each get to use the center dot because the center dot belongs to both sides. Raphael 7286 on the constellation of Pegasus. I have studied a little bit of the hockey that is coming out, the playoffs, and that was really funny because the Devils, if they win, and the Kings, they win, you would have Devils against the Kings. Kings are the god, devils are the demons. So they'd actually be playing themselves because the opposites, they're opposites. So then, if they're opposites, do opposites play each other? Or do you take Phoenix? They have the wolf that howls at the moon. Are playing the Kings because they have to connect with the Kings this year. It's 2012. The hockey playoffs have to be determined according to 2012 this year, and I would have done it. I would have never done it on any other year, but it's easy to do it when you're getting to the end. There's only so many choices. There's 4 teams. There's New York Rangers. Well, now we have to think about the apple. Did you ever think about the apple or any fruit, especially the apple? And I've mentioned this before, because when you roll the apple, when it comes to slow down or stop, it'll never sit on top of its head because there's the stem in it, but it'll always sit on its ass. Almost the same thing as a cat. The cat has to flip over and go back down because its angle, it has a delta angle, okay? And the cat's formation, okay? His backbone goes along east-west. Man's backbone goes north and south. So man can, it would be impossible for man who's a straight line going up to fall down the way a cat could without just putting his hands out to the direction you need. Your hands will always go to that direction it needs to cover the angle to equalize your body upon the fall. Now, if you're jumping off the Empire State Building, we'd have to speak to Neil Anderson, I think he'd have a better answer because he fell over twice. Many, many things to talk about. Even with pi. Instead of going pi 3.1415, which is 4 numbers, plus the 3, plus the dot, which is the separation of the 0. It's calling for 3 worlds. That's what it's calling for. 3 dot and 4 numbers. 4 numbers dot, 3 dot, and 4 numbers. 4, 5, 3, 6 dot, 7, and 4 numbers 11. Go the other way, we got 11, 11. A lot of things I did today. I mentioned once before the reason for the curling of the hair on the jacks and the kings is because when the Spirit goes through you, this shoulder here, when Jesus passed away in the Da Vinci Code, they showed him leaning over this way, and that's because the Spirit, okay, is going right through him down here into the ground, and when it hits the ground, it's like welding, arc welding, and it starts to curl from the heat, just like a spiral. And then the other one comes through, and that curls, and it makes the mustache. And why do we compare the mustache to that cancer? Because the rest of your spirit, the Christ, goes right down and splits your penis right in half, right through your ass. And that's one of the reasons for it, for getting that disease, is because of those angles. If you disturb any of the angles, okay, if you bend them out of shape in any way, whether you eat, the way you think, the way you've thought, the way the future comes, everything must fall into the hole. Everything must fall into the hole. The 5 hole. Well, it's a hole in one, but the cup's like a 0. So I guess everything comes out and goes back into the 0. Don't forget, 1 0 is round, but the egg is not that round. And there's a reason for it. Because really, have you ever seen the Alliance picture? Well, it's sort of like that. You can put that on the top of the egg and put a different one on the bottom of the leg. Okay, because the 2 eggs, the point is different. And then extend the sides in an L shape. Create a rectangle, cutting it in half, okay, into a square, and then you can actually figure out more about the circle and pi. Okay? Oh, there's a lot of stuff about a lot of things. You want to see what I did today? Hold on a second. Now, I am a jerk, because for a guy who works so hard to get all his information, is this the way you write it down during the day? Or this page? Or this page? Or this page? It's just upside down, and I still haven't finished yesterday or the day before, and I have 2 more days to catch up, because Friday's garbage day. And I take all my garbage and I throw it out, because I don't need that stuff. Because the 10% of my mind is going to travel up to get 100% of the information inside the spirit matrix. And that's all we need. 10% of my mind with the one spirit of who I am makes that 11. Once I trap that information in reality is only valued at 1. So my 11 becomes 12. But that 1 extra is 100% of that 1, which is the 100% of the information of the files that are classified inside the matrix up in what I call Super Train 55. Why Super Train 55? Because to go from each train to the center, it's 5 in and 5 out, and 5 in and 5 out. Unless you want to go straight from go to jail, AIL means garlic. It means it stinks. Have you ever said in French 1, 2, 3? Well, let's say it this way. 1, 2, 3 is 2. But in French, when you say it, un, deux, trois means 1 of 3. 1 take away 3 is 2. And that's the number in the center. You got to play French and English, my friends. E-I-E-I-O. Don't forget that clock. It keeps on ticking. Raphael 7286 in the constellation of Pegasus. My biggest problem right now in my life is how to alleviate my cats from this house. I cannot live with 10 cats. It's not possible. And I love the black ones, and then I love the gray one, and the other one was already out, and she hates it outside. So like my biggest problem is to worry about my cats. Regardless of every other little tiny worry, this is the one that's really hanging on to me. We are in the constellation of Pegasus of 7286. We are under Andromeda. There is an X planet because it's the 10th planet. It's the one between 9 and 11, 10. The only one that is actually 10 is you have to count the sun. And the sun they don't count at all, so you call it the cue ball. So it's either the 16 or the 0, the sun. So there you go, you got your 0. The love of God, the Son of God, Jesus Christ. Why? Because Christ is a total count of 77. And because it's 2 worlds of the Christ, 77, right? 7 and 7 is 14, 1 and 4 is 5. The other world is 77, 7 and 7 is 14, 1 and 4 is 5. Passage of 55, or 5 plus 5 is 10. And now you got the love of Christ, or 5 by 5 is 0.25, and that's the movement of this earth. So it doesn't matter what I do or where I go, the numbers go round and round. All you got to do is plug them in the right spot. And now I bid you a thank you. Thank you for watching the hour that I have just presented. Today's date is, let's say, August 4th, 2012. In 2 years will be the beginning of World War I. 2, 3, 4 months later, and 17 days will be December 21st. 4 months, 17 days will be the 21st. 4 and 17 is 21. 2 and 1 is 3. 21st of December. 2 and 1 and 3. December 1 and 2 is 3. 3, 3, 3. Pig's pregnancy, 114 days. 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days. A pig connects 2 sides of the heaven, my friend. 2 and 2 of one world. 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 Here's the 4 of man's world. That's what he's in. Okay? But wait a second. We each have a deck. And we each have a 9 of diamonds. If we don't connect the decks together and play with our spirit and the part of the soul that's included in the deck, we will not connect the 5-hole. Only with the 4 decks can we connect the 5-hole, in which the 4 decks automatically brings the 5th deck. And that's God himself who comes to the plate. 5 decks. 5 by 52, 260. 2 worlds of 60. Or 2 worlds of 6 and 6. YBO? Because that's the love of Christ. 60 equals 4. 60 and 4 equals 64, which equals angel and man. It just goes around and around and around and around. Okay, what day are we today? We're August 17th, let's say, 2016, in preparation of 30 days. Well, because in 2016, which is the 1 spirit of 6, whatever's going to take place between now and then is going to reconnect our spirit. Not that it has been disconnected. Okay, it's more or less been stretched because we're going to go for a turn and it has to reconnect. So what we're going to be living with is a different kind of connective spirit. Don't forget, wireless and jacks. When you got a jack, you plug it into a wall, you're connected, you're not wireless. Otherwise, you're running with wireless, with lines and dots and coordinates in the sky that we connect to the satellite system of the spirit matrix of this world. Like I said at the beginning, if God removes his water, we all fall to dust. What happens to the gases within the water on the extraction? The Big Bang happens. By putting in and taking out spirit, you will create the gases. You know, I'm new at this. I just started this, so I'm going to leave it the way it is. But when God plays with the elements, things change. Raphael, 7286, in the year of 1962. 1962? Well, that was 50 years ago. Why didn't you start in 1960? That would give you 52 years. 52 years to 2012 would be perfect to end the world. Then the 2 jokers be 2014. You can't end the game unless you have both jokers to end the game. That's 2014. Now you want to start the game, you got to get out a new deck. And that would be 2015. By the time you open up the deck and restart, it's 2016. Because that's how the numbers work. And in 2025, in the year 2525, if man was still alive. Now that I think of that song, man is not alive anymore. That's it. The old world is crushed. Only those who are born and on this earth right now will live through the times of the past and ancient man of creation, who only wanted to play with his dolls and his ours, his dolls and his ours, his angel resident, his doll, his money, the dollars. Imagine if you ran into a bank and had to steal Change, only change, quarters and dimes and nickels. The bank robbers would only get away with a couple $100. So maybe we should just go back to change. It'll be a change, right? I want to steal all your money. How much you got? I got change. We don't need any money. We have those plastic cards now. There shouldn't be any bank robbery, so they can't rob the banks now. So the rich people don't rob the banks. They don't steal your land because of the train tracks. They do something different. They put on TV, and they get you that way. Buy this, and you need that. Oh, wait a second, wait a second. Everybody's feeling good now. Everybody's feeling good now? What do we do next? What about a little bit of medication? We all need medication. He doesn't seem too good. How should we bring up our doctors? Obviously, back in Germany, when they brought them up, they taught them pretty well. We can manipulate anybody's mind, and then all of a sudden we have to take all of this to get it back intact. But now we're taking too much, and now we're taking too little, and now it's too much because the body, okay, and this is the same thing. This is concentrated. Although you need it, if it's not done right, some of these medications will kill you. And they're expensive. And the machine spits them out 100 miles an hour. And don't tell me it costs more than $300-400 a ton. Because I bought a load of corn. And when I buy concentrate, it'll cost me $1,000 a ton. If I buy a pound of pot, it'll cost me $2,500 or $3,000 a pound. If I buy cocaine, it'll cost me a lot more. But let me tell you what's going to happen. Apparently, here in Quebec, Mr. Harper, or it's all over Canada, people who have 10 plants of marijuana growing is going to be put to jail for 2 years. If you have more, you can go up to 5 and 6 years into jail. You want me to tell you what's going to happen? The mafia, the real mafia that they talked about in the 60s, they will come back for real, to come back with the government taking over the drug trade. That's what's going to happen. They're going. If you talked about and thought about bad people before, it's going to get worse. Not only is marijuana going to go up, well, and that's what they want because they can take the rest of the money out of our pocket because they know the marijuana is what helps the pineal gland to get to the secondary part of the world of 4. And never mind the world of 4 because everything is in between. What did you say? 7? Oh, that's 7 1/4. But wait a second, it's actually 8 1/4. It's the one extension of the arm and then the quarter end that is missing. This one's 1 1/4, this one's 1. This one's 1 1/4 because it's on an angle. It loses distance in each square. Pi again. Pi to pi, and then you're equal. Anyways, there's so many things. They are going to take over this drug trade. It's going to get very bad. This is nothing. What is happening, okay, in Colombia will happen here. It must happen here. Well, this is Canada, so I don't know exactly, but they'll grow inside. But Colombia must happen here the same way they went in to destroy them in Colombia. They will come in and they'll do anything. It's a terrible thing what's going on. It's just a terrible thing, okay? If I was in politics, I know, you know what? I don't have to be the smartest guy in the world. I know my numbers, okay? I know the numbers. I know that everything, okay, needs to be between 0.25 and a half in order to meet at 1.25. A quarter to a half, 1.25, 1.25 is 2.5. How do you get 1.25? 5 times 5 is 1.25. 5 times 5 is 1.25. That's how you get it. Now, how I got it and what it means on how I got it from where I took it is another thing to talk about. And I'm just hoping that everybody can just say, okay, I don't understand now. Maybe I'll understand later. I don't care. He doesn't make any sense. Now, if I don't make any sense, like I said, if someone was right here in front of me, I can help to show them. Anyways, let's stop for a second and do this. If we say everything is death at 10, okay, so you minus 1 or you add 1. So even if you minus 1, you're minusing a whole 1. Even if you're adding 1, you're adding in a whole 1. 1 and 1 makes 2. 10 plus the 2 is 12, and that's why you have the 6 and 6 world. Okay? Forget about that in between again, because if we get that in between, we're 5 and 1 and 5 and 1. And in all actuality, it's 3, 1, 3. Because there is no 6. It doesn't exist, only in this world. You know what happens in this world if God takes out His Spirit? All the electricity stops. Everything stops. So you know they're coming out there, they have that movie Revolution where everything stops? Well, you saw what man did. He ran on his animal instincts for way too long and he ran out of gas. We don't need this gas anymore. This is all a way to control us so we spend all our money so we don't have enough to we have to work more. And then they push our salaries down and you go to court to fight it, but they already paid off the judge. You can pay off anybody, my friends. Everybody. So you got to make sure wherever you're working. You understand what I'm saying? There's a big difference from where everybody works and hangs out. Raphael 7286. The constellation of Pegasus, I say it is the return of DBZ and the Sith. S-I-T-H. It's almost like the sitcom, but what it means is Sit-H. It means it's coming from the past into the future to haunt us, because this is what we have done. Not all of us, some of us, but this is the way it goes. The next thing I want to tell you is the only thing I think the Earth is going to do when it tilts is it's going to go from this side tilt to be tilted on this side. Okay, and now when it swings around, oh, I'm not going to get into this. When it swings around, oh, there's too much. I got a headache. Oh my God, I wasn't supposed to do 25 minutes. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed, and if not, I'm sorry to take up so much of your time. Maybe one day in the future you will see the difference. Maybe more, maybe a whole lot less. Maybe it was a waste of time, but don't let it go all the way. File this away in one of your files, and maybe one day it'll come out to be true, that you see a lot more. Anyways, I have to stop this. In French, 68. 68. Okay? There's so many things in French that you say that if you reverse it to English, instead of saying plus, it's saying minus. Instead of saying 1, you add 2. It's just so perfect, English and French, you know what I'm saying? And I'm quite sure there's a lot of languages around the world that can do what I'm doing, and we can probably build fuck, sound like Obama. Oh, he'd be bent over in that reason. Which way would he be in that? Raphael 7286, I'm taking this one step too far for no reason. Excuse me, I am sorry. Thank you.